morning, it is time to get up with Mr. Mahomes. Now that the parade is over, the real celebration can begin. Is it time to pay that man his money? Our GM is here. Plus, how about this quarterback? We'll explain why his team had this one all wrong before they even began. And then, I am going to give you 5 places Tom Brady could go next year and win the Super Bowl. And I think number 1 is really going to surprise you. All that and more. It's time to get up, starting right now. And when I say get up, I mean it figuratively. But in the case of Jay Williams, I mean it literally. What is going on?
Well, you guys are the Lakers and the Nuggets, and I'm the Houston Rockets. It's
Oh, nice.
All right, for the morning,
Small ball.
he's Lil J. And DJ is back. Damon Jones is going to be here. Show business is back in the house. But we will start with football because, don't look now, the offseason is very much upon us. Decisions have to be made soon on a bunch of quarterbacks, including that one with no long-term contract in sight. The Cowboys will likely use their franchise tag on Dak Prescott. The 15-day period to use that begins February 25th. Then, of course, there's Tom Brady. After 20 years in New England, could be on the move. NFL teams can start negotiating with free agents like him on March 16th. And fresh off a Super Bowl MVP, is it time for Patrick Mahomes to get paid? The Chiefs still have him under team control for 2 more years, but he is eligible for an extension starting right now. And so we will start with our insider, Jeremy Fowler, on that. Where are we as far as Mahomes getting a new deal done during this offseason?
Well, I spoke to several league execs. They say he's going to get between $37 and $40 million a year, likely in the next few months, sometime this offseason. They say take the Band-Aid off, do it now before he's going to cost you even more. And so it's forecasted this is going to get done, but they can still take their time. There's no rush. You know, they can work this in the offseason. They're going to make him a very lucrative deal, but they have 2 years under contract. That's the team's leverage.
All right, here's the part of our meeting that I loved this morning, and we're going to reenact it. Mike Tannenbaum, you are our general manager. Dominique Foxworth, for the purposes of this conversation, you're going to be Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, can't wait.
I would like you to have the conversation with the player that you you detailed for us this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a spend issue, it's an allocation issue. And we are in the business of winning multiple Super Bowls. So the more you take, the less there's going to be for others. So if you want to go see Sammy Watkins say goodbye, we could go have a little party for him. Frank Clark maybe not be here. Your left tackle, Eric Fisher. And when we saw what Tom Brady and the New England Patriots did for all those years, obviously Bill Belichick is great, Tom Brady's great, but he took a lot less money. So if you want to allocate less money to you, we could keep more of your teammates. And remember this conversation on opening day when we play Thursday night and all the pomp and circumstance, and you're mad because that 3rd-round pick who's playing receiver doesn't run the right route. Just remember this conversation.
I would say respectfully, I like what you have to say there. However, I did my job. My job was to be the best quarterback in the NFL, the best quarterback that any of you have ever seen. Give me all my money. It is now your turn to do your job. Your job is to manage the cap. Your job is to make sure that 3rd-round pick that you get does make the right decisions. Your job is to make sure that you can replace Sammy Watkins. That ain't my job. When you come out there and start reading coverages, you start throwing left-handed passes, you start throwing no-look bombs. When you convert on 3rd and 15 in the Super Bowl, then I'm like, sure, I'll take a little less. When you start doing my job, then I'll do your job. Until then, do your job. Mike, give me my bucks.
Hey, Patrick, I did my job. You're here.
So it shows that you are a great talent evaluator. So keep doing that. Sign my check. I don't want to hear nothing else out of you. Sign my check and then go evaluate some other draft possibilities.
Do we agree? You made this point. Patrick Mahomes could be a billion-dollar player, much like what Tom Brady did in New England, winning all those championships. Think about all the endorsements he could get. If, again, it's an allocation issue. The more of your teammates you could keep, be it Sammy Watkins, the left tackle, Eric Fisher, Frank Clark, a defensive tackle, it allows you to win championships and let corporate America backfill the money you want.
I don't mind that as an argument if you can guarantee me titles. You can't guarantee me titles. What you can guarantee me is the money that I've shown that I deserve. So I'm not going to invest that money. You can take the risk. You can invest in whatever you want to invest in. Give me all my money, the whole bag. I want the duffel bag full to the top with cash so you can't even zip it.
What about your legacy? What do you want your legacy to be?
My legacy is going to be a rich person.
Okay, very well done. That was an excellent reenactment.
Who knew?
By the way,
Good
of
job,
that
guys.
conversation.
It was a pre-enactment. A pre-enactment.
Even better. But all kidding aside, They are in the middle of a CBA negotiation right now, the players and the owners. And I've always thought, I've been doing these talk shows forever, fans don't want to hear about that, they don't care. But the one piece of it that I do think is interesting is whether or not there would be any consideration given, and you and I have talked about this, Dominique, and you were the president of the Players Association, to creating some sort of exemption, the NBA has it, like the bird exemption is what they used to call it, for quarterbacks or other superstars. And I would think the players would want that, because if Patrick Mahomes takes $40 million, which no one would argue he doesn't deserve, that's going to mean like 2 linebackers are going to wind up maybe out of the league because they're too expensive for
I
their
would go
team.
a step further. Is I think that there should be exemptions for special players and quarterbacks in most cases, and the entire league should have a pool to pay those players, because what happens, and we talk about this a lot, the teams do get worse when you have to pay your quarterback. You're less likely to make it to the playoffs. It is better for everybody if your best quarterbacks are in the playoffs. So why don't we create a situation where more money goes to the other players, and also the best quarterbacks are more likely to make it to the playoffs?
Yeah, from a GM perspective, that we're all in. We want as many exemptions to keep as many good players as possible, but ownership always wants bright lines, because they always feel like you have one exemption, that's going to lead to 10 exemptions over time. What about the injury? What about a guy coming off of drug rehab? Whatever it may be. So they like bright lines to say, players, you get X.
Yeah, they want cost certainty. They want cost certainty,
that's exactly
which I
right.
understand. And you can make it like NBA, where there is it's tied to a percentage of the cap, and there's like an exemption in that way, so you gives them cost certainty. But my point is, it's better for everybody.
I agree. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on this. Jeremy, let's talk about which players we're talking about. If Mahomes takes all the money, and there's no one sitting here who doesn't agree that he deserves it, which players are we talking about maybe not coming back?
Well, the Chiefs are going to look at their roster, and they're going to be exhausted, because you got Sammy Watkins, $14 million salary. I'm told he's not taking a pay cut. So you either got to extend him, keep him at his number, or cut him, where he'll have a very good free agent market.
Or
Chris
Patrick
Jones,
and I will be at his goodbye party.
That's right. That's right.
And wait, I'll buy him a watch.
Yeah, hey, hey, what's the line, though? It's not my problem.
It is not.
That's it.
I would argue that there's some veteran receivers would love the opportunity to come play with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
If you want to find somewhere to get a pay cut to cut some spending, cut it from then. You're not taking it from me.
You make more money. Travis Kelce, though, 2 years on his deal, he's making $8 million. I'm told he's probably not going to hold out, but expect a friendly nudge this offseason when George Kittle does his deal in a couple months.
It's also a really good wide receiver class in the draft, so you never know how teams can make up some ground there.
No doubt.
Yeah. Patrick Mahomes is great, and you better give him all the money. If he takes anything short of a pay cut, I'm coming to your house. I know it's not your deal, but I'll be furious with you because you put this idea in the universe.
So, Nick, can you and I go to the Patriots victory parade next year when Tom Brady goes back to New England on a pay cut?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll pay for our flight with the money that you give me.
Laura, there is another quarterback whose situation we got to figure out.
Yeah, look, with no long-term contract in sight, the Cowboys and Dak Prescott headed straight toward a situation in which the team will have to use its franchise tag on him. And at this point, the franchise tag looks inevitable, although neither side wants it to come into play. Troy Aikman said this on Wednesday, quote, "I think the Cowboys, they've said it. I believe they really want him back. I have no reason to think otherwise. I believe Mike McCarthy really wants him back. Dak wants to be there. I think it's inevitable that they're going to reach a deal." He said, "I think everyone understands he's the quarterback of the future." So when we talk about all this, and look, Jeremy, you've been reporting that this was kind of where it was headed back in October, so it's not even news that it would be headed toward a franchise tag, but what can you update us with what you know?
Well, the rumblings are real that Dak could miss some time here if he's franchise tagged. I talked to a team source that said, look, I expect him to stay away a little bit because, look, he played on a bum deal for 4 years on a third-round contract. He's made, $4 million, where Jared Goff's making $34 million. He can't sit on that when he knows he's the better player. He wants the long-term security. So this has been at a standstill. I've been hearing since October that the franchise tag was likely, but they still have time. They got about a month. The combine is when this will heat up.
Mr. T, what should Jerry Jones be regretting here with how he's handled this?
Laura, he made 2 mistakes. Number one, strategically, he paid the wrong players first. Lyle Collins, Jalen Smith, good football players, replaceable parts. They have a franchise quarterback. Dak Prescott's won 40 games since 2016. He's tied with Russell Wilson. He's high character. He's productive. You take care of him first. And number two, he rewarded the wrong behavior. Greeny, for months, you made the point that they controlled Zeke Elliott's future for multiple years. He went to Cabo, and they said, okay, we're still going to pay you. If I'm Dak Prescott, I see that, and I'm like, I'm not showing up. And what that does is you have a new head coach, Mike McCarthy, so you have no OTAs. You don't have any sort of preseason. He shows up the week before the season like Zeke Elliott. And if you rewarded Zeke Elliott, you better reward me as well.
Nobody wants to be a jerk. Like, all the players want to do the things that you want us to do. However, when you reward the people who do the things that you say they shouldn't do, you're going to create a circumstance where you're pushing the leader of your team to act out. Dak Prescott, nothing in any of his history and his behavior suggests that he's a guy guy who doesn't want to be there being the face of this franchise, but you are begging him to do that because you pay the people who do.
And here's the part of this I just don't get. That all the things we're saying, A, are correct, and B, the Cowboys know them. So, Jeremy, I come back to you. It just feels to me like the only reasonable explanation for how this has gotten to where it is that there was at least some uncertainty in their minds that this is the guy they want to go forward with long term. I can't think of a better solution.
Uncertainty to go crazy with the money. They've been at like low 30 millions a year. They're willing to pay him, but at a point. And so now he's got to make them pay by making things difficult, and that's the issue.
And I'm just saying, if you tag a franchise quarterback and you franchise him, Nick, you know, as a former player, could you imagine being out there in training camp with Cooper Rush? Everyone knows it's a waste of time. You have a new coaching staff, so he has a lot of leverage. I agree with Jeremy. Maybe it would have been 31, 32 million a year ago. Right. He's going to be north of Russell Wilson.
They're bringing back Kellen Moore so that he doesn't have to learn a new offense. But to your point, it's the second year under Kellen Moore. You can advance things. You can add new things. That all that time that you're going to be wasting and missing out on. And also the idea of having your leader of your team there showing the example to the rest of the players that he believes in and trusts Mike McCarthy. Because right now, the thing that he's showing is that he does not trust this organization. And I mean, he has a right not to trust him considering how they've treated him. Right?
Knowing Dak and just knowing kind of his character and how he is, I always thought he would never sit out. I'm starting to feel more and more like he actually might miss some time.
You know what?
This just feels that way.
Another elegant way, he could just say, hey, you know, Jerry Jones, you believe in the free market. Let me go out there. Let's see what my value is. We don't need to know hypotheticals. Let's just see what it is. Don't franchise me, and we'll stay in touch.
But to your point, Greeny, I understand what you're saying, but I don't understand how anybody could come to the point where they don't have any faith in him. What more would you want this guy to do? Like, this was the second best offense in the league, and it was not because of Zeke Elliott's running. It was because of Dak's passing.
I agree.
He came up big in big moments in the playoffs.
The mistake Jerry Jones made is he paid replaceable parts. A guard, a linebacker, defensive end. You have a winning quarterback, you pay him
That's
first.
sort of illustrating my point. And if you look back over Jerry Jones' history, I mean, this is where he's drawing the line.
And he's been on record 28 times, hey, we're going to pay Dak, and it's still not done.
So it's just confusing.
What more do you have to do, though?
No, listen, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you.
I understand, but I just can't get it.
Okay, whatever. Nick is cranky this morning.
Very
Jerry, he wants us to pay him.
Let us run a hurry up with some other big-name quarterbacks in their futures. Everyone wants to know what Tom Brady's going to do. What are you hearing?
Well, let's start with Brady. I'm told from a source at the Super Bowl that when he's been talking to other players, he's used the phrase, wherever I end up next. He's keeping this open-ended, making very clear, I'm willing to do this if you're going to tempt me. But I've spoken to several execs and people around the league. They expect him back in New England, but under one condition. Get him some weapons. They need a receiver on the outside that can win. They need a tight end that can win. That could entice him to come back. And
the next quarterback is Drew Brees.
That's right. So I talked to somebody in the building who said they expect Brees to play one more season in New Orleans, but helping close friend Taysom Hill usher in 2021 as a starting quarterback. So you ease him in. I'm told they're very tight, so Drew is invested in Hill's future, but it still remains they're giving him a couple weeks here to figure out whether retirement is best for him. Those rumblings are real. That's still on the table, but the person I talked to said they expect him back. Give it another run. He's still too good.
Hill is a free agent, so is Teddy Bridgewater. And then there's Cam Newton.
Well, this one's interesting because the team has not given up on Cam Newton despite that $19.1 million cap hit. They're trying to decide the future, but a source told me they want to work him out in early March, spend some time with him, see how he's doing on that foot injury once it's healed. And so they really don't love the quarterback draft class in 2020. They're almost looking more toward 2021. So I'm told there's still a good chance that he could be back in Carolina.
Here's the part, Mike Tannenbaum, that I find most interesting. When you give the new head coach, Matt Rule, the kind of contract that he has, all the money in the world and all of this time, I can't decide if that makes it more or less likely that you bring Cam back for another year and try and make a go with it. Because you give him the luxury of tearing it all down and starting over again. But you give him enough luxury that he doesn't even have to do that immediately if he wants to give it a go. Do you think it's more or less likely that they give Cam a go if they think he's healthy enough to play based on the coach's contract?
It's more likely because we're overcomplicating things. He's only going to be 31 years old. He's going to make $18 million. And the last time he was healthy, he led the Panthers to the playoffs in 2018. If I'm Matt Rule, I go back to Bill Parcells in 1997. The 96 Jets won one game. They won 9 games in 97, and we were in the championship game in 98. They won one right away. Matt Rule could do that. Cam Newton's a good winning quarterback. Why are we overcomplicating things?
Yeah, I'm with you. I understand that mindset, particularly at this price tag. But I also, to your point, Greeny, I see this as a great opportunity for Matt Rule. You don't want to get in a situation where you get tied down with Cam Newton. And we all know that his body's starting to break down more and more. If you go over Cam Newton this 1 year, that's one thing. But you stick with him another year, then you set your whole plan back. In order, when you get a long-term contract like that, you have an opportunity to really tear it down and put together the perfect team in your mind and win in year 3, year 4, and year 5, and then you get your extension then. And if you don't do that, if you fail now, it sets you up to be rebuilding at the wrong time when your contract expires.
And despite the length of his contract, what they have to do is establish Matt Rule's credibility at the professional level.
That's
Cam
fair.
Newton allows them to do it.
I don't think his trade market is that great. I don't think they get a first-round pick if they try to trade for him. That's part of the
If he plays well at some point this season, he's only under 1 year, so they extend him and they can move him at that point.
Right.
That 2021 draft, Trevor Lawrence would be a quarterback they could try to go after. That might be a lot of fun.
You can't get Trevor Lawrence if Cam Newton's your quarterback.
Very true.
He's familiar
All
with the
right,
Celtics.
let's get to the NBA. Busy night with the Miami Heat. It ended up with Jimmy Butler suffering a right shoulder strain during the third quarter, the loss to the Clippers. But earlier in the evening, the team traded for veteran Andre Iguodala. And according to Woj, they're still working on adding Danilo Gallinari as well. Iguodala excited to join the Heat.
I'm really excited about that. Jimmy Butler, obviously proven as one of those guys who he's looked at as different, but very well respected in terms of passion and the hard work that he brings to the game. And I feel like his temperament and, the values that he has really resonates with the Miami Heat. I think he's brought out the best in those young guys. And those are some of the guys I'm really excited about as well, because I feel like I can make a most impact with those guys.
What do you think he brings to the team?
Winning. He knows how to do that on both sides of the ball. He's super smart. There's nothing that he cannot do. And I think I get to learn from him. Everybody else gets to learn from him. That winning level, that leader, is going up in everybody's mind.
Damon Jones and Jay Will here. And Jay, does this trade, getting Andre Iguodala in the mix, make the Heat a serious contender to win the Eastern Conference?
It does. It doesn't make them a favorite, though. I think the Milwaukee Bucks are still the favorite. And Iguodala is a championship-type player. He understands how to win. He brings that poise. But also, I want to bring people back to reality. Last year, he did average 5.7 points, okay? He was struggled with injuries. He is 36 years old. I still think that the Miami Heat are a piece away from potentially being the favorites. If they can get Danilo Gallinari, then they might be in the conversation to be a favorite.
What do you think, DJ?
I think that they're right there at the top of the Eastern Conference with Philly, Boston, Milwaukee, and the Miami Heat. I think they need one piece, and that one piece is a big.
What?
Because to win the Eastern Conference, you have to do two things. You have to be able to guard Joel Embiid and Giannis Antetokounmpo. If you can't do either one of those things, then you're not making it out of the
DJ, how do you not put the Toronto Raptors in that conversation? They've won 12 games straight. They're second in the East, and Nick Nurse is one of the best coaches there is in the league right now.
When it comes to playoff time, you need that guy that can go out there and get you baskets.
Pascal Siakam?
He's not going to be able to do it at the level Kawhi Leonard did it last year.
It's interesting to me that that's what you seized on. I seized on you, including Philadelphia. I feel like the world is giving up on the 76ers, and we're going to talk about them a little more in depth a little bit later. But we're sitting here talking most days about the possibility of breaking up their dynamic duo of Embiid and Simmons, and you're still talking about them possibly making the finals?
Oh, yeah, because one thing about it is they just have to get there. Now, they're having some problems right now that I think that if Brett Brown steps up and does what he's supposed to do, then they'll make it to the playoffs. And once they get there, they have the second best player in the Eastern Conference in Joel Embiid.
Jay, who would you take out of DJ's list there as your favorites?
What do you mean favorites?
To put the Raptors in as a favorite to win the East.
I would probably take out the 76ers as of right now.
Yeah.
What?
As of right now, just because I think there's a lot of
They have the second best player in the Eastern Conference.
Hey,
and that's Joel Embiid.
DJ, look. I'm the guy that picked them to win the whole thing at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
I see that, but I still think Brett Brown has to make some decisions to get Joel Embiid the ball at the right places.
Right.
And that comes with coaching and Ben Simmons and some of the pieces they have. I'm not saying they can't get there. I'm just saying they're not there right now.
If I were to, I don't know that I agree with DJ, but if I were to pick up his argument, I would say that at no point in the game's history that I can remember have we been in a place where what I think the regular season is and the postseason is more different than it is right now. So I can see the Sixers being a disaster based upon the health and all that kind of stuff during the regular year and still being a very tough out in the playoffs.
I will say this, getting Alec Burks and getting Glenn Robinson III really helped them from a shooting perspective because that's what this team struggles with spacing.
Let's say this. They're one shot by Kawhi Leonard from making the Eastern Conference Finals with this same team, except Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Butler was an endowment of fortitude in this team now. Okay.
It was around Embiid.
Can I bring the two of you together with a nice moment?
Sure.
Yes.
Did you all see this moment last night? It was in Brooklyn, your hometown there, Jay Will. Look at Kevin Durant and Steph Curry. How about that?
Let bygones be bygones. I love that. These two are two incredible players. Stephen Curry, two MVPs. I love seeing them come together.
Two top 5 players in the league. I love to see them embrace. You know, they did a lot of great things together in Golden State.
That really nice moment there. And we are just getting started on a morning filled with nice moments. We're talking about Tom Brady. He reveals what he won't be wearing to next year's Super Bowl. The question is what teams give him the best shot of getting back there. I will reveal my top 5. And if Antonio Brown is allowed to come back to the NFL, would Mike Tannenbaum sign him to his team? We'll ask that question and answer others as we continue. Get up on ESPN.